When the Canon R50V was first announced, I was actually really excited. Why? A professional filmmaker, I create content for businesses for a living. So why would I be excited about this tiny little consumer grade camera? The answer to that is I saw the camera and thought, man, this could be a great BTS camera, something to use for behind the scenes footage, something to use for social media type footage. The Canon R50V is clearly aimed at content creators. You have a tripod mount to mount it vertically to shoot for social media, dedicated vertical footage. This camera includes C-Log 3, which for professional filmmakers is great because maybe I could potentially match this to footage that I get from a Canon R6 Mark II, from a Canon C80. This camera shoots 4K 24, 4K 30 using the full size of the APS-C sensor that it has. It also shoots 4K 60 frames, however, it's cropped. It does shoot 1080, 120 frames per second using the full size of its APS-C sensor and in C-Log 3. And with sound, this camera also shoots stills, which I think also translates into potentially being a great sub $1,000 family camera. It doesn't have a viewfinder, but it has a bright enough screen to be able to use outdoors. I'll be honest, my first impressions of the Canon R50V were the size. For me, as somebody who uses cinema cameras, who uses mirrorless cameras regularly for my job and for pleasure, just for personal use, this camera is small. But like, I love the size. This is the kit lens. It's a 14 to 30.
I think with the smaller lens for me, if I were to use this camera, I like the body size. It's pretty light, but I think the lens is too big for me, so I'd want something like slightly slimmer.
When I brought this camera around for a family gathering, they were like, oh man, I love how small it is, but this lens is a little bit too big for me. This lens is the kit lens, the RFS 14 to 30 millimeter lens. And for me, I'm like, well, this is small. It's great. It's a little compact package. You put some Peak Design anchors on it, throw a strap on, and you can take it with you traveling. The appeal there is that you have this small package in a camera body, but you still have an RF mount. So you can use the RFS lenses, but you can also use full frame RF glass. I took this camera out with me for an interview for a client, and I used it as a B cam for this client. I wanted to see how it was going to stack up against my R6 Mark II, because these two cameras share a lot of features together, albeit the R6 Mark II shoots full frame 4K 60, whereas the Canon R50V shoots cropped, APS-C cropped 4K 60. Camera performed beautifully. I have one battery for this guy, which is kind of a risk, but the camera held up easily. The interview itself was probably around 30 minutes, and I had no problems with the battery. I didn't worry about it at all. The focus using adapted EF glass was spot on for the entire interview. On top of that, the images look very comparable. I have noticed that there might be a little less dynamic range in this APS-C size sensor, but for the most part, it looked great. And I don't think that a client or even somebody, if they weren't told that information, would really know the difference between the two. The autofocus in this camera is superb, just like any other Canon camera, on par almost with my R6 Mark II. It is fast, it is silent, especially with this kit lens. Whether you shoot it in single shot or shoot it in servo, continuously focusing on a subject, it will keep up. It does a great job of that. And so I think that the photo realm is something that you're not gonna have to worry about as far as autofocus. The one thing I did notice is the dynamic range. Is it good? I think it's good enough. Is it great? The dynamic range in this sensor is not the best, and you can kind of see that as it typically will blow highlights a little bit. Is it unusable? No, not by any means. It's still a great camera that produces great images that I'm sure I'll put up on the screen right now. But comparable to something professionally, I think you're gonna have to nail your exposure a little bit more with this, but it also has the auto modes to use for families. You don't have to have the technical knowledge in photo or in video to be able to use this camera. It has both completely automatic modes in photo and in video that work superb. I wanna see, just like recording auto, video mode with the kit lens. This is the 14 to 30 millimeter. Just gonna go outside here and see how it adjusts. Well, that's pretty good, truthfully. I went from inside to full sun. Looks like it's doing pretty well here. I'm gonna go inside and we're gonna see how it transitions. So, dark right now. I can kind of see an icon here that shows sun, and now we've transitioned into interior. It's brightened everything up, facing that door that I came in, and I don't know, that did a pretty good job, and the focus is locked on my eye. You can see the box around my eye. It was honestly perfect, and I'm tempted to even just set it into auto mode and shoot that way. That way it's one less thing that I don't have to think about. Is there anything that I would want to see out of this camera that isn't there? And the answer to that is yes. I would love for the 4K 60 to not be cropped. That one breaks my heart a little bit, but I kind of get it. And I'm assuming that we're going to see more of these in the full frame variants, and maybe a little bit more prosumer professional versions of these where we are going to get that. This kit lens is good. It's sharp, it focuses silently, it has a power zoom, so meaning that I can flick this lever back and forth and it will zoom in and zoom out silently as well. It has been completely accurate 100% of the time, really. So I'll say 99% of the time it's gonna be accurate. The downside of this lens is that it's an f4 to I think f5.6 as you zoom in. And that's a little bit too slow. It doesn't let in enough light to be able to be comfortable in dimly lit settings. So the one thing that I would recommend is that if you do get this camera, the kit lens, I would recommend it for sure as a starting point. But as soon as I had the ability to upgrade, I would upgrade this kit lens to something in the range of 16 millimeters to probably 35 millimeters. Anywhere in that range is going to translate to a focal length that you're going to be able to use in a variety of settings. But more importantly, I would look for something that has an aperture of at least 2.8, ideally f2 or even 1.8, 1.4. The audio that comes out of this R50V is not necessarily the best. I've used it in different settings and I'll give you some examples that I recorded. All right, everybody, so I'm here with the Canon R50V, and for me, I see this as maybe potential for a travel camera. BTS, travel, something to just take around with me, but it still has... All right, everybody, so I'm here with the Canon R50V, and for me, I see this as maybe potential for a travel camera. BTS, travel, something to just take around with me, but it's... I would also recommend getting something like either the DJI mic or the Rode wireless mics that they have. They have a ton of mics, and use that to get good audio. And that's just something that, as far as in content creation, you're likely already aware of, but having great audio is a good thing. You still get decent audio in a pinch that comes out of this, but I would not use it as your primary source of audio. And so I'd want a wireless mic to accompany this as well. All in all, I'm happy to recommend this camera for those who are wanting to step up their footage and their content from just phone footage to dip their toes essentially into interchangeable lens cameras. Is it the smallest? No, but you get a lot in the way of quality and capability from such a small package like this. To add to that, this is potentially a great travel camera, which I've used it in that way as well. It's small, it's light. I think if you put a cage around it, then your worries about durability would go completely away. All in all, this camera is, I think, a great step for Canon. The design, the capability in it, and the target market of who it is, I think it fills that need pretty well, along with Canon's essentially legendary user interface and how easy and intuitive that is. It's just kind of an easy one for me to recommend. The real question is, will I be keeping this camera? And the answer to that is, I think probably not. I may keep it just to use, let my wife use, and to use as like a C, or even just a small everyday camera. But what I'm really looking for is essentially this, maybe a little bit bigger with a little bit more capability, with a full frame sensor. And I hope that we get to see that soon. I would imagine that this is not going to be the last of this style of body that we're going to see from Canon. So my name is David J. Orozco, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Please feel free to ask any and all questions down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.